Welcome back, YouTubers, to another episode of Infinite Lives, and today I'm focusing on a new release on itch by Pícaro Games, and the address is here. It'll also be in the video description. As always with itch, these guys have offered it for free for download, but come on, let's not be cheap and let's offer them a small donation for the hard work they've put into this. By the way, I'm not sponsored by these guys, it's just my personal opinion. Once you've downloaded the game, you'll have a cartridge image, you'll have a manual in English, Spanish, and a bonus track. So for today's Infinite Lives, we're going to use Vice Emulator. Don't ask me why, I just prefer it. I'm going to drag and drop the cartridge onto the Commodore 64. So here we have the game. You've got two levels of difficulty, normal and hard. I've not tried hard yet, to be fair. You're given some brief instructions. You've got a map to navigate the world, and the premise is quite simple. You've got to collect the stones or the characters of the same colour. So I'm purple, now I'm brown, and I collect brown. There are bonuses that appear and a portal, like so. We've also got, stage clear, although I'm not quite sure why we get these pixels flashing at the top there. Maybe that's an artifact, don't know. But we have 3 lives, and if we hit a colour that's not the same as we are, then we lose a life, as you can see here, into 2. So let's crack on with it, no pun intended. We're going to break into a monitor, and given that we're using an emulator, the tools here are far superior to the monitor cartridge we had back in the 80s, which makes this a little bit easier. My first trick is obviously to have a look at the screen, which we can see looks like there's the pattern that's going on here, but we've got text, score, high, order, the order of the stones to collect, and lives. That would suggest that these two here, there's something not quite right. So screen memory is at 5C00. With the Commodore, you can move it around, as you guys know. So let's have a look at 5C00 to 5C4F. And I don't have anything really that ties in with what I'm looking for here, which would suggest that we're operating in bitmap mode. So we're going to have to go old school on this. So we know that we have 3 lives, and that we start off with 3 lives, and that we've got 2 remaining. So let's have a look at some code. Okay, just picked a random address of 1000, but the LDA instruction for a load accumulator is A9 followed by A0, or the value that you're loading it with. So let's do a simple search in memory. So let's hunt from 0 to C00. I'm going to look for A903, as we've got 3 lives, is a good guess. And we've got a lot of candidates here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I can, I'm going to copy and paste these into a scrap pad, and we're going to work our way, sadly, through this list. So let's have a look at the first one, first instance, which is at 9B8. So disassemble 9A0, and then let's have a look what's going on. We always go a little bit behind, just to make sure that we get the right opcodes. So 9B8, load A with 3, looks like a candidate for 3 lives, and we're going to store it at 4606. So let's have a look at the memory at 4606. That's still 3. But our lives have decremented to 2. So we can discount that one. That's not a candidate. Let's move on to the next, A79. And we've got, again, load A with 3, and we're storing it in 0 page at 3. And that's currently value 0. So I think we can rule that one out. Disassemble E40, E51. Load A with 3, store it at E. So let's have a look at E. That's a value of 1, so nope. We can rule that candidate out. Let's have a look at the next one. Disassemble E7C. So let's have a look at E60. Load A with 3, store it at D. So let's have a look at the memory contents of D, and that's 10. So nope, that's not a candidate. EB6, have we got that on screen? Nope. EA0, let's have a look. EB6, load A with 3, store it in 12. So let's have a look at 12. That's a 0, so we can rule that one out. 15C0. 15. Load A with 3, store it at 12. Well, we already looked at 12, so again, we can rule that one out. Next one, 15EA. Load it 3, store it 12. We can rule that one out. Let's have a look. 16BC, symbol 16A0. 16BC, load A with 3, store it at 4601. So this is in main memory, so rather than 0 page. So let's have a look at that. Oh, we've got a possible candidate. How can we tell for sure? Normally, I would restart the game and set the accumulator to a different value. So I might set this to anything other than 3 and see what happens. But given that we're in the emulator, we can poke 4601 with a different value. So let's set the value at 8. I did see a comment on a video recently, which was, Jason, why are you using fill 4601, 4601, also 08? Does the same job. I prefer fill, but the angle bracket, sometimes it confuses people if they're not familiar with the emulator. But yes, the shortcut is for poke, and I can poke a sequence of bytes. So if we have a look at memory 4608, oh, interesting. That's because, Jason, you are looking at the wrong memory address. You got old age is catching up with you. Yeah, there we go. So we've got the value of 8 there, and we're going to return back to the game. Now, we still see the lives of 2, but I suspect the draw routine hasn't been updated yet. So let's just get clipped. We've lost a life, and what at that? We've got the value 7, so we've got 7 lives. This tells us then that we've got the memory address for lives is stored at 4601. So $4601 equals lives address. Now, we can do this a couple of ways. We can set a breakpoint, or we can do another hunt. So let's do another hunt, 0 to C00, and we're looking for 4601. So it's little-endian notation, so it's the least significant byte first, followed by the most significant byte. Let's just see how many matches we have. Oh, surprisingly few. So just doing this, I'm going to copy that. And let's have a look at BA0, shall we? So let's start with B9. Oops. B90. So we're just loading a value. We're not doing anything with that. So we can strike that candidate off. 16BF we know is where the lives are stored. So lives initialization. Let's have a look at 1CCA. Okay, so I suspect this is something to do with printing or displaying the data on screen. There's certainly no decrement of life, so we can discount that one. Let's have a look at 1CF5. Increment. So this looks like a increment lives routine. Let's look at 3564. Oh, another increment life, so another opportunity to gain a life. It's not consolidated for some reason. Okay, let's have a look at 377B. That's interesting. This looks like it sets lives to 0 for some reason. Unsure why at the moment, and that's something to explore later. Let's have a look at 52B0. Could be data. No, that's not a candidate. Let's have a look at 8620. Aha! Decrement 4601, that memory address. This tells me that this is most likely a candidate for infinite lives, and the byte data is, let's just copy that there to make that easier. So 862F is decrement there. Let's have a look at the so this one is decrease lives. Ooh, help if I can spell. And then let's have a look at A677, Disassemble 8660. Yeah, again, it's suggestive of graphics data or game data, etc. So we've got the perfect candidate. So I suspect, given that we know what we know, all we need to do is knock out that instruction range. Easy, yeah? So let's go back to 8620. Again, we can do this one of two ways. We can poke it. So 862F as EA, which is the NOP instruction, or fill. I like fill. 862F to 8631. I mean, the poke saves you having to calculate the start and end address, but we can put that as EA. Let's just check that that's taken. So let's have a look at 8610. Ah. What do you spot? The instructions didn't take. Why would that be? This is because it's a cartridge and you can't write to ROM. So how do we get around this? Clearly, once the game is loaded, we can change the number of lives that you start with, and you can change it in game. So if you're getting close to losing, you can set that to a different counter by poking 4601 with a different value. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, or maybe not, but you're going to need a hex editor if you want to cheat with infinite lives on this. So let's go back to the game for the moment. Now, before we start, I just want to make sure that we are using the same version of a cartridge that the guys have released. So I'm just going to run a SHA-1 against the RAS cartridge. So this is the original that's available on itch as of today, which is 23rd of July 2025. I've also made a copy, so let's do a SHA-1 of that. And you'll see we've got the same value. What I'm going to do now is run a hex editor. But before I do, what I do need to do is detach the cartridge, because basically any edits that I do will get overwritten. I'm just going to power cycle the machine just to be absolutely sure. I'm running a hex editor called Sentinels for Mac OS, but obviously find a favourite hex editor for your system, whether it's Linux or Windows. I'm going to open up the cartridge. So we've got the original cartridge. Again, just to be clear, we can run a SHA-1 on the cartridge itself, and we can run a SHA-1 against the original, which I've made a backup of. So we can see that the value here is the same, 0855 ending in 48F2D. This will help detect any changes in the file before we commit them. So what I'm going to do now is search for the decrement instruction, which, let's have a look in the monitor, is CE0146 for the byte. So we're going to look for CE0146 and look for possible candidates. And it looks like we've only got one possible match, which is very handy. So we're going to edit this, and I'm going to add in, don't make a backup, say no, EA. So those bytes that we identified at this offset in the cartridge file, we are now nopping no operation out. If you really wanted to, you could look for lives, but obviously if you've got infinite lives, it doesn't really matter. But we can look for A903, for which we've got quite a few matches. What was the SDA instruction? Can anyone remember? So we can look for the instruction 8D, 8D, and then 0146, and we've got one possible candidate again here, A903 8D. So the lives is here, so let's edit that to, let's give ourselves 9 lives, and then we can save the cartridge, which hopefully, he says, gives us a different SHA value. Starting 845B, ending in 42F9, which is a completely different value to the original. With that in mind, we've now edited the cartridge, and all being well, let's just check the timestamp, modify today. We're going to drag the cartridge onto the emulator. Ooh. Still got the monitor window open. I'm going to load the new cartridge, the adapted cartridge. And there we have it. We're now starting with 9 lives. Not that it makes a difference because we've enabled infinite lives. Okay, time to get clipped. Here we go. As you can see here, we've still got 9 lives, and there we have it. Infinite lives for this latest game. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'm supposed to say please like and share and all that kind of goodly stuff, but if you do like it, please share it, please consider subscribing. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Infinite Lives.